Okay, so what are your thoughts about those books, just generally, before we talk about each book individually?
So I like Jump Right In.
Okay.
I love the singing and the rhythm patterns beforehand, and then like the sixth part that you explained to me, with the improvisation. But the one thing that kind of is making me question if I like it as much as that it is entirely like G based, and it's solfege based. And the fingering charts only show the notes in that scale, and so that's kind of where I was a little bit. I had to question whether that was the best kind of fingering chart or not.
Other thoughts? Other books?
We were looking at trumpet and clarinet for essential elements, and they both start on the same note, which if you're doing a band probably will happen. But for trumpets it makes sense open G, but then on clarinet starting with the throat tone G probably not the best note to start with.
Okay.
We really like Jump Right In also because like the pictures of the postures and the way you're supposed to hold your instruments and stuff, it was very specific. Like it showed you how to hold your hand and then how to hold your hand with the trombone as opposed to just having a faraway picture. And you're like, I can't really see what's going on.
Yeah.
So it was really detailed.
Okay. Was there a book that you didn't like at all? I see the face, Jeffrey, go.
No, I was just thinking like, no, I don't know. I feel like there's like good aspects of like each book.
Okay.
It's not like one book that like I want to have. I want to like take all of them and make a book.
That's the key right there. Is that we want to be able to combine a lot of this. Because what typically happens is you walk in and your district says, this is the book you're using. Ready, set, go. And what I found with my students is that this book in particular, the beginning moves way too fast for where my students were by the time I got them, even in sixth grade, because their general music teacher was very transient. And they probably had 3 or 4 teachers by the time they got to sixth grade, so there wasn't any consistency. So, you know, they couldn't keep a steady beat, they couldn't read anything. So, you know, you take a look at this book and what happens by the end of the first 2 pages.
Oh, letters.
The letters are gone, and you know 5 notes. So you get to the next page, and the kids go, I don't know what's going on. So it would take months to get off this page, because they would need to work slower than what the book would give them. So then you have to supplement with other books. So let's start with essential elements. What did you think were the pros of this book, and what did you think were the cons of this book? Jeffrey?
I like that it's like you move through it, you're introduced to like musical like concepts and ideas and stuff like that apply to like particular pieces that are like kind of grouped together. So you kind of get that knowledge as you move through the book.
All right. Chris? Pro or con?
I mean, honestly, that's the one I didn't get too well, so I'm not sure what I would say for a pro or con, besides what we've already talked about.
Sure.
Well, an observation that Lauren made that I like was the history and the theory. Like they have those little things. So especially with kids who are kind of A students, you know, like the really type A kind of students would really get into those extensions of the music.
Okay. Let's move on to standard of excellence. This one. What are your thoughts on this one? Pros, cons?
I thought something they did cool was they did a little bit of composition in a few of the songs where you could write in your own notes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of books are missing that. Like improvisation and composition is something that we never teach our kids, at least until they get to high school in most cases.
But yeah, going with that too, it's like there's kind of like theory exercises too. There's like that weight game where you gotta balance the scales, and fill in the measures.
Right. Alex?
I think, with anything, like you said, it depends on their general music education. It's like, up to that point, if you know your district is teaching out of that book, and you have a curriculum in place with the elementary school teachers, then they're looking ahead and they're giving the students the tools. So you could argue the same thing for the essential element one. Like if the kids have been, like given that education and foundation, the 5 notes isn't a big deal.
Right, exactly.
Because they know the notes, not just figuring out the technical aspect of playing a new instrument. So I think, with that one, it's you could make arguments either way, I think, it's just a matter of where they're coming from.
Yeah. What do you think of the colors in this book?
Let's stick to the same, like 2 or 3.
Okay, but do you think, would the kids be more drawn to something that's color than versus black and white? So that might be something that's helpful. What about the starting notes? I mean, I know this is a flute book, but it happens in the brass books too.
We were talking about how like the trombone, if you're doing it with all band, it starts I think on D, and it's like 4th position. So it's kind of, instead of just giving on B flat, which would have been 1,
Right.
like that would have made more sense. But I mean, it doesn't work like that with the full band. It's really hard to get them all on that like perfect note.
Right, so in particular, the brass books open up with if you're by yourself versus if you're in a full band setting and they've got both pages like that for you. Okay, and then fonts for jump right in. So you had 3 books to look at. You had book 1 along with solo book 1 and solo book 1B. Pros and cons. And then we talked about it a little bit. Lauren?
Instead of like the other books where you just read straight through the melody, it gives you options to work through other parts like the harmonies and the improvisation.
So I saw that it had like a lot of like doing stuff by rote as well, which those books don't really have.
Right.
And that was nice. But then I was looking at the music book, and it's, I don't know, I didn't look at it too well, but it seems like they progress really fast, where they get really hard. I saw one was like in 4/4, and then the next page was in 6/8. And I was like, I don't.
That's a good point. Think about how we learn and how the kids learn. Are they going to be able to reproduce something more difficult without having to look at it? So the theory behind the book is that they learn it by ear first. So they can play those 16th notes, no problem. And then they look at them and go, oh, that's what they look like. Versus we give them the book, this is really hard and they're really fast, but I want you to try it. Does that make sense?
The only thing with that is I just feel like then they rely on just learning it by ear. Because I feel like trombone, I just kind of learned by, like, I didn't learn to read the music. I just kind of learned, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I didn't learn to actually read bass clef and move with trombone. I kind of like look at the note. I'm not actually reading the pitches. I'm just looking at the note, and I feel like that's not.
And I can say that my sister, who spent time as a music major, couldn't read music until junior of high school. Because she would look at it and say, oh, it's on this line, it's this finger. She played saxophone. She didn't know what it was called, but she knew it was this finger. And I mean, that's sometimes the crutch that we need to pull away if we're, taking the notation away, making them use their ears, and then showing them what it looks like. That way they're not learning more than one thing at a time. Go ahead, Sean.
I think it's far more common for people to, like, not people who can only play by ear and then be tripped up by music. I think the opposite is super prevalent. Is just being able to play what's on the page and not knowing what to do if there's nothing in front of you. And so as long as you can extend jump right in to make sure that you don't have problems like that, like your students can only play by ear, as long as you can really drill some notation into them, then I think that the ear can be really helpful.
Right.
I also like the chord symbols.
So, think about yourself in a jazz band, and except for you, because I know you can improvise.
And Sean.
Oh, that's right, because you're playing guitar. You're in a jazz band for the first time, but you've never been taught to improvise. What's your first reaction?
I'm scared.
It's not play.
Right, I'm scared to not play. So if you had started with your improvisation at 5th grade, even something as simple as the way it's written in this book, if you look at some of the first pages, your first song, a harmony part to your first song, a bass line that goes to your first song, moving accompaniment, and then improvisation. If you had learned to improvise as a 5th grader in a very safe space, and then you end up in jazz band, are you going to be scared anymore? had something to say earlier.
About the jump right in,
Mhm.
they offered a lot of, practice, because you had all those check boxes.
Yeah.
So assigning those for, I guess, like homework would be
Mhm.
something that'd be really good with that book.
So did you guys all notice these check boxes up here? So when you were signing these, Mary Had a Little Lamb, which Jeffrey noticed, oh, that is 16, the first song. Which, your kids will be able to play if they've learned it by ear instead of us explaining to them how it's supposed to go, when they may not be able to grasp that concept yet. And then the check boxes, sing this song with the CD, because everything comes with a CD, so they can practice at home. Perform the song the same way it's written on the CD. Perform the song in a second key, so they're already learning about transposing. And the simple explanation is start on a different note, and then they'll be able to figure it out. Play the song in a third key. Play the song with a friend who plays the same or different instrument. Play the song in a different meter. So you can take Mary Had a Little Lamb and change it into triple. And they get really excited about that. And then take Mary Had a Little Lamb and perform it in minor. And then they learn the bass line, which is also on that CD, and then they can improvise over the bass line on the CD. And then they look at the notation. So after all those things, and learning how to change it and learning how it sounds differently, then they look at this. Yes, Chris?
So like that book, what you would give it to your middle school band?
You can do this with your beginners.
So you,
I mean, it's Mary Had a Little Lamb, it's 4 notes.
yeah, I know. I'm like trying to imagine myself
Mhm.
as like a sixth grader trying to like transpose a piece.
Well, don't think about it the way we would think about it now. Think about it, this song, the way it is for you right now playing trumpet. C is Do, and it starts on E. So now I want you to think about it, G is Do, and it starts on B.
Yeah, but also too, I kind of like know music. Like in sixth
Right.
grade, I didn't know any.
Right, but if you know how it sounds, it'll be easier for you to just be like, I'm just gonna start on a different note and see if I can still make it sound the same.
So
Yes.
you would only do it in C, F, and G.
You can do
And
it.
then A for minor.
At the very beginning, yes.
Right, because I was with that,
Yeah.
since it only does have G major fingerings.
Right. If you look, in this book, it's only got G major. If you look in the first book, it's got all sorts of.
Oh, is it all chromatic?
We've got B flat, E flat,
Okay,
F.
okay.
That's probably another key, and all the minors that go with that.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so if we're gonna go around, if you had to choose, what book would you use for your beginners? And 10-second answer why. Alex, go.
It depends, but probably the Standard of Excellence.
I did jump right in with because of the singing
Yeah.
I wrote.
Standard of excellence.
The essential, which one are the history thing?
Essential
Um,
elements of that.
Okay, I would do that one because something I want to include in my classroom is making sure we cover history and
Mhm.
background of music.
Essential Elements, it had lots of, charts on how to assemble, and it had your instruments, and it had the finger charts, and a lot of good information.
Like a standard